Welcome back to our STAR PowerPoint review videos. This is part one of our American Revolution videos. This is just the important people that we have to know from the American Revolution. The first person that we have is Abigail Adams. She helped organize the Committee of Correspondence for communicating what was going on before and during the American Revolution. She would help coordinate writing letters that would go from Massachusetts to New York to Virginia to communicate what was going on in each region during the war so that way people could understand. And before the war, she was trying to help communicate to everybody so that way they would know what is the situation in Boston, like with the Intolerable Acts, or what's the situation in New York as the British were coming more and more in. So she was trying to help communicate information back and forth. The next person we have is John Adams, who was her husband. John Adams was a lawyer, and one of his claims to fame is he actually defended the British soldiers who shot and killed American colonists during the Boston Massacre. He believed that everybody deserved a good defense in face of trials. He also assisted his wife in writing in the Committee of Correspondence. The next person we have is Wentworth Cheswell. We all know Paul Revere, who made a midnight ride saying the British are coming, the British are coming. But Mr. Cheswell also made that ride. He is an African American who rode out and would tell the people that the British were on their way to certain areas. And so we need to remember him as being a very important person who rode out to warn people the British were coming. Next person was Samuel Adams. He is the founder of the Sons of Liberty and helped organize the Boston Tea Party, in which the American colonists threw massive amounts of tea off ships to protest the prices from the Tea Act. The next is Mercy Otis Warren. She was relatively unknown until more contemporary times or times of today, because she would write propaganda for the Patriot cause, telling people that they should believe, but she used aliases or pen names so that way they wouldn't know she was the one writing them specifically to hide her identity. But Mercy Otis Warren was a very important propaganda writer. Next we have John Armistead. John Armistead was actually a spy who was a slave. He would spy on the British as he was working, and then would report back the information to people like Washington and Marquis de Lafayette. He would do his job, see things, and because he was a slave, most people considered him being low in intelligence, and so he was able to get information that a lot of other spies were not able to. Next we have Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin is a very important person in American history. He was an inventor, a writer, and also a diplomat. A diplomat is somebody who goes through and talks to other countries to get them on your side. And he worked with the French heavily, trying to get them into the revolution. And after we win the Battle of Saratoga, the French do join the war effort. Because of this, we were able to be successful in winning the war. Bernardo de Galvez. Excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that, is a Spanish governor of Louisiana. He helped to protect American ships from the British. He was in Louisiana, the most important port city being New Orleans. And he would protect the ships and also transport aid to help the Americans win, because a lot of people wanted to see the British lose valuable land. He would transport guns, ammunition, food up and down the Mississippi River, or even around the coastal areas, just trying to make sure that the American cause could keep going. Next we have Crispus Attucks. Crispus Attucks was, unfortunately, he has gone down in infamy as being an African American who was killed by the British during the Boston Massacre. He was one of the few people killed, and we just need to remember him as being an African American free citizen who was killed during the Boston Massacre. Next we have King George III. King George III was the King of England during the Revolution. He's the one that passed all these acts that really upset the American colonists. He wanted to keep control of the territories so revolutions wouldn't start in other parts of the kingdom. You got to remember, England controlled areas in North America and Canada, in the coastal areas, through a bunch of islands and by Australia, Hawaii, areas like that, to India and Africa. So they had a widespread area of influence, and he didn't want revolutions to start everywhere at one time. Next, we have Haym Salomon. He was a Jewish spy for the Americans, but we also need to keep up with him, knowing that he was the man who helped finance the war. Because of his efforts in financial markets, being able to get investors and to invest his own personal money, we were able to be successful in the American Revolution. Patrick Henry. He was a leader, son of liberty. He was also a general for the colonist army, and he was best known for his statement, "Give me liberty or give me death." He would rather have freedom than live in a world where a king ruled his country any longer. Next, we have Thomas Jefferson. And the main thing we have to remember at this time for Jefferson is that he was the writer of the Declaration of Independence, which happened July 4th, 1776. Next, we have Marquis de Lafayette. He was a French leader who helped train and lead troops with George Washington. He was very close friends with Washington, helped during the time at Valley Forge to try to help toughen up the American soldiers and to make sure everybody was prepared for the rest of the war. He also was very influential in getting the French to join into the war. Next, we have Thomas Paine, or T-Paine. He was the writer of the pamphlet Common Sense, and he was saying that a country ruling you unfairly, it was common sense to try and overthrow it. It makes sense for us to get rid of people who are ruling us incorrectly. Next, we have John Paul Jones. John Paul Jones was the founder of the American Navy. During the Revolution, we had about 3 or 4 ships, but they played a very influential part in winning the war. And John Paul Jones was seen as a national hero following the war. Finally, we have George Washington, who is the commander of the Continental Army. Through his leadership, knowing some of the British fighting styles, because he also was a member of the British military for a long time prior to this, he was able to successfully lead the American forces to be successful and to see victory in the American Revolution. This concludes part 1 of our video series on the Revolution, just showing you some of the major leaders that you have to remember for the war. Thank you for listening.